Hello, I'm Laura Cassidy from the American Chemical Society. Welcome to this news briefing from ACS Spring 2021. We're joined today by Dr. Michele Baglioni from the University of Florence. He's developing a new way to rescue street art from vandals graffiti. Dr. Baglioni?
Okay, thank you, Laura. So we are talking about the removal of overpaintings from graffiti. When I talk about graffiti, maybe everyone is familiar with tags, writings, and drawings, which are usually treated as vandalism on urban surfaces, so the surfaces of buildings in urban contexts. Actually, recently, some of these graffiti have become very interesting to the art community, and they're treated as real pieces of street art, because there are artists which became actually media star. I'm talking about Banksy or Eduardo Cobra or Blue or people like that. And so there is the need now for people and conservators and restorers that they have to begin to think how we can preserve and conserve this street art. And the main problem about preserving street art is that it's a kind of art which is not meant to last long. So it's usually done with materials which are not intended to last long, and more important, is accessible by people because it's not conserved in closed and protected environments. So everyone in principle can go there on a piece of street art and just paint over it with like spray cans or brush paint, or even with felt tip markers. And so there is these big problems in the street art, which is the removal of overpaintings, which are now treated as vandalism towards this kind of art. The main issue with the removal of these overpaintings is that we have to achieve a very careful and selective removal, because, and this is not very easy to achieve, because the materials for that of the actual piece of street art are the same or almost the same from a chemical standpoint of the materials which are used to overpaint, so to paint over it. And so this selectivity is something which is not so easy to be achieved, and conventional methodologies actually are very poorly effective on this. So starting from this point, at the University of Florence, in the research group of Professor Piero Baglioni, which I'm not related to, I have to say every time because we share the same surname. So in this research group, we developed a new system, a new methodology for tackle this issue, which is mainly based on the combination of two different colloidal systems. So the first is a nanostructure fluid, so an aqueous cleaning fluid, which is loaded into a highly retentive hydrogel. So the combined system allow the restorer and the conservators to play really a selective and a very controlled removal action with respect to the existing methodologies. And so this system is based on very advanced and complex science, which borrows concepts from colloidal science and nanoscience, but it's very simple to be used because you just may basically apply your loaded gel, so the gel which is loaded with the cleaning fluid on the surface of your street art paint over the overpainting that you want to remove. You let interact this gel up to a few minutes, but no more than that. And then with this gel, you are able to really tune and control the release of the cleaning fluid to just the surface layers of your overpainting, so of your target material that you want to remove. When you remove the gel, you have your overpainting, which is softened and swollen, and you just have to remove it mechanically by playing a very careful and gentle mechanical action, which should be able not to harm and remove the original underlying paint. And so that's basically it. And we proposed this system, which is really easy to be handled and to be used. It's already available to end users, and we really hope that conservators and restorers can benefit from these systems to solve this issue and preserve street art, and maybe not only street art. So I'm done if you have questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from viewers? Please state your name and affiliation in the chat window when you ask your question. While we wait for questions from viewers, I have a few of my own.
Okay.
What inspired you to find a way to vandalized street art?
Okay, so I would start maybe from a little bit longer. So with our group in Florence, we really pioneered in a way the science applied to conservation. So the use of chemistry and colloidal science applied to art conservation. So this research came a long time. We began with our group, I would say, almost 30 years ago now. And we had a lot of different collaborations and inspirations and also feedbacks on our research, interacting with restorers and conservators. These particular systems were developed mainly in the framework of European projects, so projects funded by the EU. And within these projects, we were able to build a network of research institutions and small enterprises, and also private restorers and museums. And so we had also their input about problems that could be addressed with our research and with our systems. So the inspiration came from the contact with restorers and conservators and conservation institutions.
Okay. And I understand you studied 3 different types of paint that you wanted to remove. Could you describe these?
Yeah, of course. We selected with this particular work these 3 kinds of paint binders because, of course, paint is a complex system that usually is based on something that gives the coloration, so the color to the paint, which can be a pigment or an organic dye, and something that has to say bind together the color particles, so the pigments or the organic dye particles. And the binder is what defines the nature of the paint. Usually the binder is a polymer. So we selected different classes of binders, looking at the most used in graffiti paintings, and spray can paints, but not only spray can paints, also modern paints like in the tubes, the ones used with common brushes are based on acrylic, vinyls, and alkyd polymers. So we selected these 3 classes of polymers as they are representatives of most paints used in this field.
Okay. And for the 3 classes of polymers, did you examine different colors and different brands of paint, and did the method work similarly well for all of them?
Yes, of course. In this work that I'm going to present at the ACS meeting, we had, if I remember correctly, 3 different brands and 4 colors actually, because a white, 3 different kind of whites, and red, green, and blue paint. But during the whole research, that we did on this subject, we really explored a wide range of colors and brands. And actually, there are not such big differences between different brands. Something that we found very interesting is that different colors sometimes may result in a different interaction with the cleaning fluid. And this is because sometimes the pigment can act as a catalyst or a trigger for, say, modifications, chemical modifications of the polymeric binders. So this is something that cannot be so straightforward to understand and to foresee, that sometimes the color affects the removability of your paint more than the brand of the paint. Of course, the binder plays a major role. For sure, we know that alkyd-based paints are very harder to remove than vinyl and acrylic ones. And this is just because alkyd polymers tend to cross-link over time. And so they lose their initial solubility in organic solvents.
I see. So do you envision, several different types of hydrogels for removing different paints, or just one?
Okay. Actually, we have different kind of hydrogels, but their choice is not mainly related to the kind of polymer you are working on, but mainly on the kind of surface. So say that we can tune the rheology, so the mechanical behavior of these gels to have more stiffer gels or more elastic gels that can adapt in a better way to rough surfaces. So we can play with the composition of the gel to have systems which mechanically work in a different way. But what really makes the difference in terms of interaction with the polymer that you want to remove, so that the paint that you want to remove, is what is inside the gel, so your cleaning fluid. And we also have a lot of different cleaning fluids with different organic solvents and different surfactants, so in a way, different soaps that can be used for different kind of polymers. But actually, these classes of polymers, so vinyl, alkyd, and acrylic polymers, are similar with respect to the solubility in organic solvents. So I would say that we can select a nanostructured fluid, so a cleaning system which has a wide range to interact with all these three classes of binders.
I see. Okay. And how is your new method better than existing chemical or mechanical methods for removing graffiti?
Yes. So the thing is that when you think about chemical methods, they're mainly based on the use of neat and unconfined organic solvents, which are the same solvents that we use in our systems. But in our case, the organic solvent is confined in a water environment in form of very tiny droplets stabilized by a surfactant. And this whole system is confined in a gel, so in the hydrogel, which is highly retentive. And highly retentive means that the fluid inside the gel is very slowly released to the surface. So these highly enhance the control on the cleaning action, because organic solvents per se are, of course, able to interact, soften, swell, and also solubilize the target material, so the overpainting that you want to remove, but they are poorly controllable. So the thing is with those, with chemical methods, conventional chemical methods, the thing is that it's very difficult to achieve a selective removal when you want to remove something which is chemically similar to the original painting, because you cannot control the penetration of your organic solvent and stop it before they reach the underlying paint. And mechanical methods, in a way, they are either too invasive and too harmful for the original material of the artworks, or too expensive and not so affordable and usable, because I'm thinking about just simple mechanical methods and mechanical removals with the use of scalpels, or just the mechanical abrasion of your overpainting. But this, of course, is something that can really harm what you have below your target material. And I'm thinking also about the use of more advanced technologies, like the use of laser ablation, plasma ablation, or ice dry blasting, and things like that, which involve the use of machines and instrumentations that have to be carried say in front of your painting, which is not so easy to be done usually, and they cost a lot, and they are often not so effective too. So with our method, we think that we proposed a simpler solution, which may be helpful because it's much more controlled and much more effective in achieving this selective removal.
Very good. Could your method also be used to remove graffiti from buildings or other painted surfaces that don't have street art?
Yeah, of course. We are also working on that slightly different research line, and we use the same cleaning fluid, but in that case, we don't need the gel. So because if you think about the role of the gel in this combined system, the gel really helps you in controlling and in controlling your cleaning action and performing this selective removal. But you need a selective removal when you have something that you want to preserve below what you want to remove. If your surface is just say that the stone surface of a building, which has no artistic interest, you can go without the gel and directly with your cleaning fluid, which is, however, effective and also in several ways better than going there with conventional, neat, unconfined organic solvents. Also because of health reasons and environmentally friendly, say, so to reasons due to the safety also of the environment, because of course solvents are toxic both for the operators and for the environment. And we reduce the amount of solvents in our systems, and we confine solvents in water, and we use biodegradable surfactants. And so we try to think about green systems also from the standpoint of leaving residues in the environment that can be degradable by bioorganisms.
And what about fine art? Could your method be used on, for example, oil paintings that have been vandalized?
Yeah, of course. Whenever you want to perform a very precise and selective removal action, in principle, this method can be used. You just need to be sure that you are able to interact with the material that you want to remove. So you have to select your cleaning fluid, but you can adopt the same methodology. So having your cleaning fluid confined in the hydrogel really enhance its control, and so its effectiveness in selective removal.
Mm-hmm. And as far as applying the gel to the graffiti, do you apply it with a brush or a syringe, or how do you do that, and how do you target it, specifically to the graffiti?
No, okay. Thanks for this question, because this allows me to describe better the gel, because when we talk about this gel, it's something different from conventional gels that we call physical gels, because they're built on physical bonds. So not chemical bonds, but physical bonds. And physical bonds are weaker than chemical ones. And this means that a physical gel, which is like jam, for instance, or the gel that we use for hair, it's something that can be spread. And so you can brush that kind of gel on a surface, and you can, it's something that has not a given shape. With our gels, instead, we synthesize chemical gels in the form usually of sheets, so thin foils of gels that have that given shape that cannot be changed. You just can shape the gel as you want by cut with scissors or a knife, but then you have some, say, solid sheet of gel which is loaded with the cleaning fluid. And so the gel is applied as a solid foil over the surface, just using your hand. It's easily handleable, and you can just apply the gel on the surface, which the gel has some stickiness, so it can be used also on vertical or on ceilings, on vertical surface or on ceilings, and stays there for the time of the application, which usually is up to a few minutes, no more than a few minutes. And then you just remove it by peeling the gel off the surface.
I see. Okay. So you said you typically leave it on for a few minutes. If you leave it on longer than that, is there the potential to damage the underlying art?
Yes. The thing that may occur if you leave the gel longer than needed is that the cleaning fluid penetrates towards the original materials of the street art, of your art that you want to preserve. And of course, you have to play a little bit with application times and finding your optimal application times before you proceed with larger applications and larger cleanings.
Mm-hmm.
If you think that you left the gel too long, there is no harm usually no harm for the original paint if you do not perform mechanical action. Because if you observe that maybe you left the gel too long and also the original paint is swollen, you just let it dry again, so that the solvents and surfactants, so the solvents and the water evaporate from the surface of your painting, and you should avoid any possible harm to your paint.
Oh, that's good. Okay. When do you think these hydrogels will be commercially available, and how much will they cost? Are they pretty affordable compared to other methods?
Okay, so they are actually already available because we have been working on these kinds of systems for I would say maybe 4 or 5 years now. So some of these systems are already available. This particular system, the one that we are talking about in this work, will be available soon, starting from next weeks or months, because we can produce it already. And it is ready to be used by end users, and it's cheap. I would say that is a cheap methodology because materials that we use are quite cheap, and also the production of these systems is not so complex, while the chemistry behind these systems is very advanced. So we really stress this point, because sometimes it's not so easily visible by end users and also by people which see these systems. They are simple to be used, but they're very complex from a scientific standpoint. So there is a lot of research behind these systems, but they are easy and cheap and available to end users starting from now, basically.
Good. All right, my final question. What take-home message about this research do you want to leave with viewers?
Okay, so I would say that our whole research really involved this message that science and art are very strictly connected. They seem to be quite far apart, but talking about art restoration, art preservation, is like talking about materials. And so in a way, it's talking about chemistry. And so science and chemistry and surface science, colloid science, is something that is very, very tightly bound to art conservation. And I already said that our mission, in a way, is try to apply these concepts, which are not so easy, to the development of systems which instead are easy to be used and easily applicable by end users. So we hope that the whole conservation community will benefit from the development of our systems.
Thank you, Dr. Baglioni. The archive version of the session will soon be posted at www.acs.org/ACS Spring 2021 conferences. Please join us for our next press conference Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you.